You're listening to How I See It, hosted by Han. You guessed it, that's me. I am here to motivate and inspire you with guests from all different industries and backgrounds. So get ready for personal stories of success, of growth, full of highs and lows, and of course, unapologetic realness. This is How I See It. You guys, I am very excited to introduce you to today's guest. She is the voice behind the podcast Too Much. I've been following her for a while, like I told her before we went on the air, and I love her content. I was always super excited to see her post pop up on TikTok, and now she's here. I was so happy when she agreed to join me. Please welcome Emma Page to the podcast.
Hi.
I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I need you to just take me back. How did you get behind the mic? Where did you grow up? How did you get here?
Well, behind the mic is very different from when I started my podcast journey because I was a little theater kid.
So was I.
Really?
Yes.
I feel like that's a really natural pipipeline for a podcaster. I always hear people saying it and I'm I had Lucy Fink on the other day and she said the same thing and I was like, oh my God, this is what we were born to do. It's
theater
the
nerds.
2025 version of it. I grew up in Westchester, New York in a town called Somers. It was an hour and a half north of the city. Normal town, normal upbringing. There were no sidewalks in my town. We were biking everywhere and it was what do they call it? A latchkey kid, where you just leave the doors unlocked. It was just that kind of a town. And I grew up being a ham. I always had a big personality. I was always in the school play, doing the musicals. I love to sing. So really was behind the mic for a while. And went to college at FIT in New York City here, 10 blocks away from where we're sitting right now.
Wow.
And I thought I was going to be Devil Wears Prada. I thought I was going to be Miranda Priestley. I thought that was my journey. So I was in fashion for about, 6 years after college, and I was working in social media. So that was kind of my first step into the world of content creation and influencing, whatever. And I ended up starting my own company, my own marketing agency when I was 28 years old, and it was because I got let go from a job. So it was a fight or flight moment. And I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to go look for another job. I'm going to make myself uncomfortable. And I'm going to start my company like I always wanted to. So I did that, which gave me the flexibility to eventually move back to New York. And once I did that, I think I was here for 8 months or something. And a girl that I had shared a client with, we got brunch one day and we were just telling stories, cackling, and I had shared a story or a dream of mine that I had wanted to start a podcast or that I wanted to start a philanthropic leg of my business. And I was going to call it Hide Your Likes. And I was like, I think the perfect way to get into that is a podcast. The brunch keeps going. We're like, why don't we start a podcast?
I love that.
So drunkenly, after 5 margaritas at Sadelle's, Unhinged was born. So we literally...
so you actually did you actually
brunch.
Record?
No, but we actually created... We got the handles, everything
That's amazing.
At brunch. I have a video of us literally creting, the TikTok account and everything.
I mean, that'd be a beautiful story if it still existed.
Yeah,
but,
if it ended beautifully.
I was going to say, I feel like as amazing as the pod was, that's obviously how I came to know you. I feel like you definitely didn't need a co-host.
Yeah. And that was kind of how I felt, and it just wasn't really working out. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But I was like, you know what? I have confidence in myself. I could do this by myself. I did it once. I could do it again.
Yeah.
And Too Much was born.
You seem like you've had that type of audacity since you were younger. Where do you think it came from? Do you think it was natural? Do you think you saw it in your parents? Did you go through some shit to make you tough as fuck?
No, yes and no. I do think it was in my nature. Definitely starting from a very young age, I was just a ham. I think it was honestly when I figured out that I could sing. It was kind of a one day thing.
Yeah.
I went to my sister's school play and the song was stuck in my head and I just started belting it out in the back of the car and everyone turned around and they were like, what the fuck?
You can sing.
Yeah. And after that, every Christmas party my parents would have, I would get up on the coffee table. I would put before you start a DVD, there was that blue screen.
Yeah.
We had a projector screen. So I would turn that on and I would stand on a coffee table and I'd be sitting there doing this whole dance in front of 75 adults that I didn't know, not a care in the world.
I love that.
I think it was kind of exposure therapy of, just putting myself literally in the spotlight so much when I was younger. And I just always had this feeling that I would be famous. Yeah. And I'm still working on that. I wouldn't call myself famous yet, but
from a very young age, like even through like the ups and downs of like the childhood trauma and like the limiting beliefs coming into play because of shit had happened, there was always this deep knowing I felt like inside that like I was meant to do something more than just like, I don't want to be like mean, but like simple. Like I knew I wanted to impact people.
Yeah, I felt the same way. And I also kind of felt a little bit larger than life growing up, and especially in high school. I was bullied pretty badly. I mean, I know a lot of people have been bullied worse, but I had a hard time.
Trauma's relative.
Yeah, exactly. There was the house egging. There was some like a lot of older girls just bullying me, and I did fight back. And I had no problem with confrontation at a very young age, and I always stuck up for myself. And
we're literally the same. Like I've had to work on that. Like, not being confrontational.
Like I had to find a happy medium for sure, to not push people away, but also to stand my ground and stand up for myself. And especially in this industry, it's so important to have your own back, because like, as I've learned, people stab you in it. If you don't have your back, someone will come up and stab you.
Yeah. Okay. So I have like immediately when you said that, I have two questions. So the first is like, I love that you call it Too Much, like the podcast. Do you think like the too much part has like evolved over time? Because like for me, like unapologetic is like kind of the branded word for how I see it. And I think when I was younger, it was almost like a toxic unapologetic. And through like my own healing and actually learning like what that means to like stand in authenticity, it's softened a bit.
Right.
Has that like evolved for you too? And that's why you chose it?
Yeah, I think where it came from is that I've always been called too much. I've always been called a lot, and it was always with a negative connotation. And so for so long, I struggled with my self-worth and my own value, because I was like, what's wrong with me that I can't keep people around? And it must be me, because I always equated it to being the common denominator. I'm like, well, if I'm the one who's like always being left, it must be me. What I boiled it down to was, it must be because I'm too much. It must be because people can't handle me. They can't digest me. And I was just like really hard to handle. And that was really tough for me. But then as I got older and I spent a lot of time alone and sitting in that feeling and working through a lot just internally, not even through therapy or anything, just like moving around to a lot of different places, like I said, spending time by myself, I was like, fuck them. I actually like myself. And if no one else does, that's fine. And I have found my people that have stuck with me for years, for decades. And it's like, I know I have something here and something worthwhile. Yeah. So if these, handful of people don't like it, like that's just fine. When I was coming up with the name for the podcast, I had a list that I was brainstorming and everything. And I took a break. So I went on TikTok, and the first video that came up was this quote from Alice in Wonderland. And it was, the Mad Hatter said to Alice, "You used to be much muchier. You've lost your muchness." And I was like, holy shit, that's it.
That's so good.
Right there, it was too much. And then also there was a personal anecdote that has been really prevalent in my relationship, which was I met my boyfriend's sister before my boyfriend. And I met her when I was 26 years old. So I was a crazy person back then. Like, this is me mellowed out.
Don't you love that? Like, side note, when like someone knows you before like you like healed.
Yeah.
Like, before you'd like done the like good work.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the healing journey never stops, but like when I see someone who knew me when I was like 18, 19, 20, I'm like, oh God.
I know. I'm like, don't tell anyone.
I know.
But so that's when I met her, and I was on a bachelorette party, which is even worse. So I was just drunk the whole time, making out with all these guys, like, and I was the youngest person on this bachelorette party. So when him and I eventually did start dating, she did warn him, because he is like, I call him Mr. Right. He's an angel. He's truly the greatest person I've ever met. And he is a little more reserved and private. So when him and I started dating, she was like, be careful. She might be too much for you. In her own right. I mean, like, I don't blame her for saying that to him. But he brought that up to me on like our third or fourth date. And I had a couple martinis, and he said that. And I was like, that's just fine. If I'm too much for you, I will be just right for someone else. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, I was so proud of myself for saying that.
Fell in love with you, right? When you said that.
I do think that it was something that really stuck out to him about me. And he was like, this girl is he calls me a lot of things. It's spark plug, lightning bolt, like, like Energizer Bunny, a pit bull, all the things I love.
Oh, I love that story though, because I think there's like a beautiful lesson in it all too. Because I think as I've grown, I was the same way. I was never able to like, at least in my house growing up, like share my feelings or be validated. Like I was always too much and like dramatic and sensitive. And I think I took that through the years as like it always being like my fault.
Where are you in the birth order? Or are you an only child? Oh, you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest. Yeah.
I was going to say, assume youngest.
Well, my mom's just like super fucking toxic and my dad is avoidant. So like there's a little bit of that too.
Got it.
I'm like, different conversation. Yeah. No, but like I think that I've realized though that like blaming ourselves is kind of like the easiest exit almost when you're feeling like anxious or sad or depressed. It's actually harder to like realize that it's not you and it's not your fault. It could actually be something you can't control. Yeah. But I think sometimes it's just like an easy way to cope with like a situation that you're not comfortable with.
I try to take accountability as much as I possibly can. And in doing so, a lot of times I do take the blame and I'm like, it must be me. It must be my fault. Which is something I've learned from. I think when I encounter obstacles these days, it's twofold. I do sit there and I can identify when someone's being a shithead.
Yeah.
And I have also worked on the confrontation in that point of like, I don't approach them as I used to.
Yeah.
Because I do take accountability, but I just remove myself from those situations. But why I asked you about the birth order is because I am the youngest and I was the ham, the one that like got the attention, and my sisters could not be more opposite of me.
That's
like
so
we
funny.
are just night and day. I have 2 older sisters, and I went to FIT. I wore 6-inch heels to class. They went to like real colleges. Not that FIT is not a real college, but you know what I mean. Like ones with football teams. And they wore Uggs to class. Like, and I wouldn't dare.
Yeah. No.
So like I was just a foreign language to them.
Yeah, but people talk about like these unicorn things about people. And I think maybe this is like one. And same with me too, is like there were so many things that like tore me down growing up, but I never like was scared to be like who I was.
Yeah, I think a lot of what I ended up doing was in spite of those who who put me down, because I was just like, what the fuck do you like? I'm someone who just, I don't like to do what everyone's doing. I don't like to think the way everyone else thinks. I have original thoughts and I want to stand out. And I think that's the biggest difference between myself and maybe other people, is that like I like attention. And I don't think that that is a bad thing. And I think
you're also not scared to say it.
Exactly. And we're raised to believe that we need to shrink ourselves, that we need to be smaller, that we need to be humble, say thank you, not I know, that we need to, just be more digestible for people. And I don't want to be that way. And I think that, I've been told my whole life that like that makes you vain, that makes you selfish, that makes you conceited. And it's like, does it? I'm not being an asshole about it. And I think when I got into a lot of relationships too, I was very upfront with the guys, and I would be like, I need a lot of attention. I require effort and work. And like, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I'll find someone who does.
Okay, well, speaking about relationships, do you feel like you were always this confident in this way in relationships, or was that like kind of a healing journey? Because I know you talk a lot on your podcast about like mental health and dating and relationships. Like, where did the knowledge and kind of like healing almost journey start with that stuff?
Yes, I was always this confident, but I was not always this secure. And I think there's a really big difference between confidence and security. Confidence can be faked. Confidence, you can exude it. You can decide to turn it on one day and turn it off the other. Security is something that is underlying, and that's something that does take that inner work and that, vast sense of self-awareness. I prioritized guys all throughout my 20s. I was not centering my life around myself and my own needs and my career. I would consider a night successful if I met a guy that night. Throughout my 20s, all of my relationships were really centered around guys. And I read this quote that changed my entire life. And it essentially was, you should never let someone fall in love with your hand before your heart. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, fuck. Throughout every single relationship, I felt that I needed to prove that I was lovable, because I felt throughout my life that I was so disposable, because I had these friends leaving me, I had breakups, I had really bad abandonment issues and abandonment wounds that followed me into my 20s. So I always felt like I needed to prove myself, and that love was conditional. So when I would start dating someone, I would cook for them, I would clean for them, I would redecorate their home, I would help them go shopping. I would like when they say someone's cooked here, it was Emma. I cooked there. I was in your boyfriend's home cooking, and then set him up for success for you. And I ended up losing myself. I self-abandoned time and time again. I would lose my routines. I wouldn't work out. I would isolate myself from my friends. I wouldn't see them or prioritize time with them or my family. And it became really toxic and it was unsustainable. So every time I would get out of a relationship, I would have these glow ups. And I always thought it was because of a breakup.
Yeah.
But then as I got older, I realized it was because I was decentering men and coming back to me, and I didn't have anyone else to focus on. So all of a sudden I had all of this time and energy on my hands to focus on myself again and start working out again and care about my health and my wellness and my career and my friends and whatever. So I always had this glow about me when I would get out of a relationship. And I've had a lot of relationships. I probably had like 8 or 9 actual like adult in my 20s relationships.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. And so I had this crazy ebb and flow all throughout my 20s. I had gone through a really traumatic time in my life when I was dating, I call him Hawaii. I was sexually assaulted when we were, 6 months into our relationship.
Wow, so sorry.
And I've done a lot of healing since then, so I'm going to say it's okay, thank you. But, it used to affect me a lot more. But when I was in the relationship, again, I self-abandoned. I didn't take the time to heal or to focus on myself. And instead, I was like, what if he leaves me? He can't leave me. Like, because, I also felt awful that my body had been with someone else while I was dating someone. So my fear was that I was going to be left.
Yeah, and also matched with like, you believe love is like conditional.
Right.
So
and then
like,
also coupled with the trauma.
Yeah.
Being, violated. So I was really depressed. I was very irritable. He did his absolute best to be there for me and to, just like be a good boyfriend when someone's going through this. It's an extremely hard thing for both of us to cope with.
Yeah.
I saw a therapist for like a short stint right after it happened, and he even like went and saw the therapist to like understand tools and everything. But I just didn't give myself the time to heal. So when we went to Hawaii, that was kind of like the head of it all. And he ended up dumping me on the beach at 6 a.m.
No.
And I was like, I was a wreck. I broke down crying. I just went and returned the rental car. As I was doing that, I booked a flight back to the Oahu, the bigger island that we were on where my bag was. And then I had to book another flight back to New York. And all this to say, I ended up moving back to New York. And
wow,
that really changed everything for me. That was like the biggest catalyst of my entire life because 8 months later, I started the podcast.
Wow.
So a very, very long-winded answer to your question. When I started that podcast, I had to do so much research for all my episodes because, we would decide we're going to talk about love languages. And I'm like, what's love languages? Like, I didn't really know about half the things that we talked about until we talked about them.
So you were like healing with the podcast.
Literally live. I mean, I wish you guys could see it, but my ex-co-host deleted it all, so you can't. But it did happen live. And I was having these epiphanies on camera of like, holy shit, I've been going for narcissists my whole life, or holy shit, I have this attachment style, or I have abandonment wounds. Like, I didn't realize that I had abandonment wounds.
Yeah.
And it changed everything for me because not only did I realize it within myself and I started to work on it, but I was able to communicate it to my partners.
Yeah, this is also good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're sharing this because I think we're very similar in a lot of ways, which is kind of creepy. The theater, the sexual assault, the conditional love. Because for me, it was like being raised by a clinical narcissist.
Yeah.
My experience with that is like love is always conditional. Like everything is conditional. And so I think being able to be in a place where like outwardly when you're out of it and you see it, is very different. Like, what was the realization where you were like, oh my God, I think I was dating a narcissist?
I mean, we did an episode on narcissism. Like, it was like I was going to school. Like, the guy I had dated just before the podcast started, the Unhinged podcast, he, I think, is a clinical narcissist. Like,
so not Hawaii guy.
No, different. Hawaii was just, he just didn't think there were consequences to his actions. He was just...
Yeah,
a happy-go-lucky guy. Yeah, and also like him and I are like friends now. Like we're fine. Yeah, it was just we had a lot of incompatibilities, and we're just fucking different people. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, there was an actual narcissist. There's two, but right before I started the podcast, I was dating this guy that like there was a lot of like victimization and like these things that he was saying to me. Like I didn't realize that until I was out of it, how awful it was. Like I remember one time it was Valentine's Day and he had just flippantly said he had just flippantly started talking about rape. And I was like, could we not talk about this? This is actually making me really uncomfortable. And he told me that I was playing victim and that I was like being a baby and that I'm like sitting on my pity pot and like boohoo. And I was like, are you out of your fucking mind?
But they make you feel like you're out of your mind.
Right, exactly. And I was kind of just like, oh my God. And it was really, I don't know, he was victim shaming essentially. And he used it against me like multiple times, like in different scenarios. And like, I don't know, I just felt, I felt so uncomfortable around him all the time. And I felt like I had to be perfect. And I felt like if I gained a pound, he wouldn't love me because of the way he talked about other people.
Yeah.
And he was just like a really not a good guy. So there was him. Yeah, there was him. And then there was the old man, I call him. This was a guy that was 20 years older than me that I dated just before Mr. Right. He did all of the narcissistic strategies, like the love bombing. They both love bombing, but they did the love bombing. They did like the hoovering and like the just they would give me all these dopamine hits so that I would keep coming back for more. And then we'd just like rip the rug out from under me.
Totally. Something you talk about that I feel like is very relatable when it comes to narcissism, because I've actually never dated a narcissist, but I think it's because I spent 18 years in a house with one. So I was like, I can see a guy in public, look him in the eyes and be like, nope. Because like I feel it that much because it's like when you grow up around it, you can feel it. And I'm sure now I always tell friends who have experiences with narcissists, like once you date one, like it's very rare that you'll date more than one more.
Right.
Like it's very rare because you can see it so easily now. But it's like the correlation between like the self-reflection and accountability.
Yeah.
I know you talk about this. Can you share like a little bit about like what you've seen in your experience and what you share with your community about this little bit? Because I think it's really important for people to understand that like narcissists cannot take accountability.
Oh yeah.
Like they can't. And I think the problem is that people stay in relationships because they think that they can make them see like what they've done and what they're doing, but it's actually not, I would argue, purposeful. It's just who they are. Like they don't know that they're like being manipulative. It's just how they are.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to a narcissist, I mean, also I want to be very clear, like NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, is actually very rare. But that does not mean that people can't have narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah.
And the narcissistic tendencies are like the love bombing, the gaslighting, like all of these things that can be very covert and you don't know that it's going on as the victim. And sometimes they don't even know it's going on, like you said. I mean, the accountability piece, it's like, I feel really strongly about everything.
Same.
Like I have strong opinions and I have done the merry-go-round. I have tried to prove to someone who displays these tendencies that they're wrong or that I am right or, you know, whatever it is. And it is a very painstaking merry-go-round. You feel like you're screaming into a void and you feel like you're drowning.
Yeah.
And when you have that feeling, like that's not normal. That's not healthy. So if you are feeling that way with someone that you are in a relationship with or friendship or business partnership with, that is a red flag. Like someone who is of sound mind and has good intentions is not going to make you feel that way. They're not going to make you feel like you don't have a say, like you're unimportant, like you're small.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what people with these tendencies do is like they try to shrink you. And especially with the love bombing, like that's the biggest thing because that can be introduced day one. You don't have to be dating someone long for them to be love bombing you. You don't even have to know someone long for them to be love bombing you.
I think that's like I feel like something I see a lot with friends who are dating is like this man will like start love bombing them and they're like, he's so amazing, yada, yada, yada. And I feel like maybe it's because of like social media or movies or whatever it is. Like they think it's romantic. And I try to be like, okay, let's sit here for a second. This man does not know you.
Yeah.
He doesn't know you at all. You may not even know that he's like a love bomber. It's just like his pattern to like do this. And then in a couple weeks, he's not going to like you anymore. It's not normal for people to love you or treat you this way when they barely know you.
Yeah. Everyone is obsessed with princess treatment. Yeah. Everyone wants princess treatment. If you've always dealt with shitty guys or guys who didn't give you what you needed, a crumb will feel like a feast. And that is what these girls and what I have absolutely done in the past do. It's like, oh, you want to take me on a trip on our second date? Okay, that's amazing. I deserve this. Because we have self-worth and we think that we deserve these things. And for all intents and purposes, we do, but in time. Because if a guy is giving this to you so soon, that is built on something that is so shallow. That is not deep emotional intimacy. That is them trying to receive your gratitude and feel good about themselves because they see how happy they're making you.
Yeah.
But also to your point of people not knowing that they're doing this, I would argue I have love bombed in my life. And I was completely unaware of it. And this goes back to making someone fall in love with my heart before my hand because I never thought that I was valuable. So I would sit there and I would cook for someone. I would buy them gifts. I would do all these things to be like, look, I'm lovable. And it did make them fall in love with me. So I was in all these relationships and you know who broke up with them? Me. Because I would realize I actually didn't like this guy as much as I thought I did. I just wanted him to love me.
This is so relatable.
Yeah. And now that he has, and now that I got what I wanted, you know, I didn't do it on purpose, but I was like, oh, I'm actually realizing that you're like kind of an asshole and like, I'm not really into you, so I'll break up with you.
Totally. I have the same experience actually. Like, and I used to think there was like literally something wrong with me because I would like grind for these relationships. Like I would put in so much work. And again, I think it stemmed from like very low self-worth and having to earn love like my entire life. So I'd like do everything I was supposed to do, fight so hard for someone to like do better, be better, for us to work. And then they'd actually like commit. And I'd be like, oh my God, I don't even like them anymore.
Once we come up for air.
Yeah.
And we're like, and we, you know, assess our surroundings. Maybe we're out of the honeymoon phase. It's like, oh, like I blinded myself. Like I didn't actually see what was in front of me. And I just wanted to feel accepted and I wanted to feel picked and I wanted to feel loved. Yeah.
Seen. Yeah. And it's interesting because I actually went through a phase where I was like, am I just like broken? Is there something wrong with me? Like, do I just not like want relationships? Like once they get close to me, do I just not like them anymore? And I kind of had to look at myself and be like, no, like love isn't earned. It's not doing things. It's not a feeling either. It's actual like characteristics about another person that I love. And I think a lot of people, they go for a feeling, like how someone makes them feel. Love is more than a feeling. And I think we've romanticized this stuff a little bit too much.
Yeah. And that's something that just like comes with age and comes with these breakups and these heartbreaks because like I would not appreciate my partner the way that I do had I not been through everything I'd been through. Also with the clarity and like the work that I've done, it's just like I know the grass actually isn't greener. Like my grass is really fucking green and I appreciate him and I want to build a family with him and I want, you know, I always like ask my friends or ask my audience, you know, would you tell your daughter to date someone like him? Would you tell your daughter to leave someone like him? Would you tell your daughter to fight for someone like him? And like, I want my daughters to date someone like him and I want my sons to be like him. Like, and that is how you know. I had been with so many people in the past where it was like, there was a but. And that's where you get in trouble with falling in love with potential. Potential that isn't actually there. It's just what you would do if you were in their shoes or what you hope they would do or want them to do or think they should do. And it's like, that's out of your control. If nothing were to change, would you marry them?
Totally.
Like tomorrow. And if the answer is no, then it's like, well, then why are you with them today? You can't assume people are going to change. You can't pretend or live in this fantasy world just because like that's what you want. Like people are not moldable like that. You cannot teach old dogs new tricks. We're adults.
Yeah.
like pretend this is like the package deal and like this is it.
Yeah, well, I say it all the time on the podcast. It's like you have to get uncomfortable for the sake of real comfortability. And I think sometimes people trick themselves into thinking that like being in a situation where they are not being treated how they should, or they're just not being fulfilled, maybe not even in a deep way. It's like they convince themselves that that's more comfortable than like finding someone else.
Right.
Because it's very uncomfortable to let go of people and like move on and surrender to the process. Like we don't like to be in an in-between.
Right. Like, especially when you're in your 30s. It's like a lot scarier and harder because people don't want to start from zero. They don't want to start over. And it's like, I have seen people's lives change overnight. Like you have no idea what could happen tomorrow. You could meet your person tomorrow. You could be in a 4-year relationship that is so fucking toxic that you were so afraid to walk away from because you were afraid that you were going to be alone forever. And then the next day you meet your husband and you're pregnant and married in 6 months. Like I've literally seen it happen. It just happened to 2 of my friends. Like actual people in my circle met someone and ended up having a baby before they were even engaged, but like we're gonna get married anyway.
Yeah.
And it happened so fast. It's like you gotta soak up the time that you're in right now and be so picky with who you're giving it to. Like, time is not infinite. Like, we only have so much of it. And, you know, that's also kind of how I've been feeling recently about the biological clock and everything. It's like, I don't really care that I'm coming up to that, because like, I know eventually, however I get children, whether it's like from my body, from someone else's body, adoption, whatever it is, like, eventually I'm not going to be able to be selfish anymore. And like, this is your time to be selfish. And this is your time to walk away from something if it's not serving you.
Yeah. You seem like you really, really, really trust yourself. Because I think what you're saying, like, takes a lot of self-trust to be able to, like, be this confident and, like, that you know things are going to work out. I think a lot of people struggle with the anxiety of, like I said, like, the surrender, but, like, they can't relinquish that, like, things are going to unfold the way that it should. And it's because we don't have, like, self-trust in, like, ourselves, in the universe, God, to, like, let it unfold. How do you think you, like, developed that, like, over time? Because obviously, like, you opened up about, like, you got validation from, like, being in relationships and whatever, and obviously you're at this new place where, like, your confidence and audacity for, like, business and wanting to be famous on the podcast has now come into, like, the internal world for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's exposure therapy.
Yeah.
Like, way before, like a decade before I even considered starting a podcast, my friends would joke, like, you need to write a book, or you need to have a coffee table book of all your stories, because I've been through some crazy fucking shit. And like, even stuff that I won't talk about on the podcast, like things that have to do with my family, or like, I have been through so much. And I think just having a good head on my shoulders, I've still like been able to steer myself in the right direction after facing obstacles, facing failure, facing rejection. You know, I think it's a matter of like saying yes to opportunity, and, you know, never getting jaded, and never bringing your old feelings from an old experience into a new one. It's like, you would think I was knocked out of the fight so many times with all these relationships that maybe I'd be afraid to get into a new one. But like I said earlier, I've had my back for so long, my own back, like knowing I'm the only one in my corner has made it feel almost like I'm invincible, because I would come out of these relationships and I would be okay.
Yeah.
And, or I would get fired from a job and I would be okay. Or, you know, I've been assaulted actually twice in my life, and like, I was okay. Like, as awful as it was, I do think everything happens for a reason. If there's anything I can do with everything I've been through in my life, it's help other people and share my stories, because like, we are not alone.
Yeah.
And I think that also helps with the fear of the unknown and the uncertainty. It's like, you're not alone. Like, other people have been through this shit.
Yeah.
Like, no experience is actually that unique. Problem solving skills are like the best thing you can teach yourself. I was able to pick myself up by my bootstraps every single time. And that's because of like this person that I have built, because I never took no for an answer. You know, that comes with the good and the bad. This is all like a curse and a superpower, because I talk about this a lot on the podcast. I'm a very hyper independent person, because I've felt that other people didn't have my back, or that I was consistently let down throughout my life. So as a trauma response, as a coping mechanism, I came up with this way to defend myself, which is, I'm never going to need anyone, so that I'm never let down again.
Yeah. I noticed this in my own healing too. Like, I don't trust anyone, super hyper independent. And I sold myself like a lot of narratives, I think, in my early 20s about like the way the world works and the way things happen to me, and like how everything is bad and the world is a bad place and things are unsafe. And I think that could all be true, quote unquote, based on my experience. But if I'm not allowing like any other experiences to happen, I'm kind of like allowing things to not be proven wrong.
Right.
And so I think when you give yourself proof of concept and you're at least like open to more experiences, you kind of like give more room to have like new data coming into the fold. But it's really hard to trust people, especially when you've been fucked over, especially when you've been assaulted. Like, I've actually never talked about it on the podcast, but I also was sexually assaulted. And I think that that's a healing journey, of course, but you lose power in that. And I'd be lying if I said that I felt I had power even before that, because from such a young age I feel like it was taken from me. And so when you're hyper independent, you're the only one that has like your back.
Yeah.
It's very hard trusting other people. But I think if you want new experiences and you don't want to live in a victim mindset, you kind of have to do that. So you kind of have to look in the mirror and be like, okay, well, am I going to perpetuate my own misery, or am I going to like try to open myself up to new experiences, even though it could be painful? And you know, it is sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people, I don't want to say take too long to sit in something that was hard, but they kind of do.
No, I
and
was
a
like,
lot
say
of
it. They do.
yeah, a lot of people sit there and think that like they need more time to heal. They need more time to heal. It's like, no, you don't. You actually need to put yourself out into the world so the world can show you that better things are out there, and there are new experiences to be had. And I think I've just been burned by so many people that I was just like, okay, next.
Yeah.
Like that was the only way that I could, I don't know, work through it in my own mind, was like, there's got to be better out there. And regardless, I'm removing myself from this bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and let this happen to me. So I'm going to either, you know, change jobs, change countries, change states, you know, change friend groups, whatever it is, because things don't change without change. Like, unless you change something in your life, nothing else is going to change. So if you're unhappy, like, you can only control your own output and your own attitude. And I think that is one of the biggest lessons I learned, being the common denominator. In so many situations, it's like you cannot control anything. You can't control the weather. You can't control the fucking world, people in front of you, coworkers, friends, partners. You can't control anyone but yourself.
And it's also not your responsibility
Right.
to. And I don't know why, I really struggle with this. I've like worked on it a lot, but I still think it's my weak spot, where it's like you try so hard to like, I think you're like probably like this too, where you can see clearly like what people need to do. And if they did this, they would do so much better, and there's so much potential, but not even in like a dating kind of way, more so like you want the best for everyone and you see where people are going. And I actually think like I've had to call myself out a few times, like, this is a distraction from looking at yourself. Like, why are you trying to control everyone around you so much? And I think that journey can be painful too.
Yeah. I definitely struggled with perfectionism a lot throughout my life. And I think that also stemmed from the hyperindependence, because, you know, that was kind of twofold to me. It was like, I'm going to become so independent that I do not need anyone. I'll never be let down. But then on the flip side, I was also like, I'm going to be so perfect that no one will ever want to walk away from me. And I'm going to prove myself valuable to these people. So I remember in college, you know, I'd plan a girls' dinner or something, and I had this vision of how it would go. And we would all be laughing, and we'd be drinking, and we'd be this. And someone would maybe show up late, and I'd get really fucking pissed. Or maybe someone at dinner would be like, oh, I'm not drinking tonight. And I'd be like, well, what the fuck? Like, we were all going to drink. This was going to be great. You know, or someone would have to leave early. And it's like, these are the things that you can't control. And I used to let myself get so worked up over other people's actions that, like, who the fuck cares? Like that, I think maybe it's also fatigue. Maybe I'm also just like tired, and I'm 31, and I'm just like, you can't control people. And it is so exhausting trying to.
Well, and it's not real love. And I think that's what I had to show myself too, is like, I had to have like a really hard combo with myself in the mirror a few times. You were taught that like love is forcing people to do things they're supposed to do, and that's not. Like, love is unconditional. Like, you can't control the people you love. You're gonna push people away.
Yeah. I actually just did an episode on self-sabotage yesterday. A lot of the self-sabotage that people do in relationships is holding expectations that are too high for their partner to reach or to meet. And these unrealistic expectations ultimately turn into picking fights, you know, them being unhappy, you being unhappy, and like, you're also doing it on purpose. Like, if your expectations are lower, or you actually see people for who they are in front of you, then you're not going to be so disappointed so often.
Totally. I was very depressed, very anxious. It was something that I attached like my identity for sure. And I do not do that anymore. And I think that was a huge part of my own healing. But I think that I was like so overly sensitive about everything people did, and like took everything through my filter instead of like just seeing the best in everyone. Like, not trying to like control, not trying to put these false expectations, just assuming that when people do something, like, they mean the the best.
There's the cynic in me. I'm like, well.
No, but it helped me a lot because I think it was almost over the top where like someone would breathe the wrong way and I'm like, well, they obviously like hate me and are being upset or like they're causing a problem or whatever. And when people do something now, like even like I don't know, I have like a lot of avoidant friends. Like I attract avoidant people. Like when someone doesn't like validate me the exact way that I like needed them to, I'm like, well, I love this person. I'm choosing to hang out with them. They're not toxic. This is just who they are.
Right.
Why can't I just give them the benefit of the doubt of reading in between the lines and knowing what they mean?
No, that's definitely a big part of the growth. That's exactly what I used to do when I was younger. I would host parties or do things. And if people didn't show gratitude the way that I wanted, I was like, well, don't you see what I just did? Like, how are you leaving me? How are you like not, and I still catch myself doing that to this day. I hosted a holiday housewarming party last year at my boyfriend and my new apartment, and everyone left earlier than I wanted them to. And I got like really upset. I mean, granted, I actually think that I did have grounds to get upset because like, come on, I put a lot of effort into it. Like, and it was like the core group. But again, that goes back to control. And I had a really hard time relinquishing control. And that was something that I just needed to, by, again, exposure therapy and just like powering through. I had to teach myself that you just can't control other people. And like, that's what everything boils down to. And if it's like, you can only control yourself, well, then you better make yourself the best version you could possibly be.
Do you feel like podcasting and talking about all this stuff, it's obviously like so productive, but it also like, it's this giant bigger mirror.
It definitely keeps me accountable. I think that's like what has been so beautiful about the podcast is that like I am just honest. And what I aim to do and try to do is talk about how messy my life is and all my shortcomings. Like I have no shame in admitting to any of it because I'm human. And I that's what, my podcast is all about. It's like, it's just about being yourself and being self-aware. And my biggest feedback that I get from people is like, you've made me feel less alone. Yeah. And I thought I was the only one that did X, Y, and Z. And like, you've made me feel like other people are out there. And it's like, by them saying that to me, I'm also realizing that I'm not alone. Because like, I'm just in a fucking room by myself talking. Like, totally. I don't care who listens. I don't know who's listening. I'm just truly speaking from the heart and my own experiences. And it's like a digital diary for me. I feel very exposed, but at the same time, like I don't mind being exposed because I'm not ashamed of anything I've done in the past.
Yeah, I think I don't mind being exposed because I knew how much it meant to me when I was in such a dark place. Mm-hmm. And so like if you've been in that place where like almost like a victim mentality to our point earlier of like thinking you're the only one that's going through what you're going through, and then you hear someone else's story and they're going through the same things you are, or even some probably much worse, it makes you feel less alone. And I think for me, it's like, I actually really struggle to be vulnerable about my weaknesses in real life with like romantic partners and stuff like that. But on the podcast, it's different because I think like I'm doing it for the service of like the old me that would have like needed it. And so I do think it keeps me grounded in that way. I also check myself a lot. I'm like, fuck, dude, like you're letting this guy like do this, and like I'm talking about how he shouldn't be doing this. Like I need to end this now.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'm speaking from someone who's like in a relationship. So like if I was single, like I don't know if I would like, stick to everything that I'm preaching because like it is hard. And I know I always try to not be self-righteous or like, totally. I'm coming from a high holier place because I'm in a relationship. Like he could break up with me tomorrow. I don't know, and it's like, I don't know if I would be acting the same or saying the same things because like I was with a fucking narcissist until pretty much like the day before I started seeing Mr. Right. And that was 4 months into me starting Unhinged. So like I already had been doing the work and learning about it all. That was someone I was with that was like, I was just fully blind to it. But he had a lot of money. So I was like...
I love how real you are. It's so good.
I mean, well, it's just whatever. Nice things.
Well, it's just a human experience. And I always talk about how like the self-aware are the most tortured because it's like, if you're aware of what you're doing, you can't not do the like what you need to do. Yeah. And I think when I'm stuck, like I can tell that I'm like violating my conscience. Like I know, I'm aware this is toxic what I'm doing. Like I know this is a pattern. I start like my depression starts showing and like my anxiety starts showing because I know that like that stuff pops up when there's a violation of conscience. Right.
It's the cognitive dissonance.
Yes. Something I really admire about you is that like you've been through a lot of shit Like you've opened up about probably like a smidge of it all here. But you still seem to like really like trust people, and you continue to go after opportunities, and you're not scared to like put yourself in a place of like getting hurt. And I saw that with what happened with the pod, the first pod 1.0. You don't have to get into so many details, but like, how do you recover from something like that? Because the pod is like your heart and soul.
Yeah.
Because like we're talking about, like we're putting it all out there. You're sharing who you are. You build this, and then it's like taken away from you. Like, how did you cope? And like, I don't want to say like let it fall off the shoulder, because I know that's not what it was, but you kind of had to move on quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I think to answer part of your question first, it all comes from the foundation you build. And if you build a stable foundation within yourself, it doesn't matter if there's an earthquake. If the foundation is strong enough, it's not going to break. And I would like to think that that's what I've built for myself. And again, it's just because I'm the use case. Like, I've been through it so many times. And when I say it, I just mean like shitty situations. Could be anything. Yeah, I've been through so much life, and I've put myself in so many situations. Like, I know that it'll all work out the way it's supposed to, because it has.
Yeah.
With the podcast breakup, for those of you who don't know, had a podcast for a year and a half with a co-host. It got very toxic. I tried to exit very amicably and very by the book. I sent over a notice of dissolution. I got ghosted. I had consulted with a couple lawyers on like how to handle the situation. Basically, what ended up happening was that I was advised by like not a lawyer that I retained, but just a lawyer friend that was like, why don't you change some of the passwords just to like poke her and like get her attention? And I was a little reluctant, but then she was like, it's only illegal if there's proof that you withheld them from her. So if you send an email at the exact same time and you say, call me and I'll give you the passwords, like, so we can ensure secure transfer of information.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So I did that. I changed only the Instagram and the TikTok at once, and I sent the email at the exact same time. And within 2 hours, instead of getting a call or anything, I was locked out of our email, the Spotify for Creators account, which is where we disseminate the podcast, all of the social media accounts, like literally everything. So I couldn't even do forgot password. I couldn't do anything. I was just locked out of everything. I was bamboozled. Like, I tried to like, yeah, I tried to, but then like, but I had no intention of not returning the passwords. Like,
yeah, you weren't trying to fuck her. You're just like, respond to
right.
me.
I was just locked out. There was no intention of letting me back into the accounts, none of that. So we ended up speaking like 10 days after that. I was offered 15% of the next 3 months of revenue for the podcast. And at its height, we made 20K a month. Based on all of that, like 15% for 3 months is bullshit.
Nothing, yeah.
When you're 50% of a podcast, and we were co-founders, co-creators, co-hosts, everything. So I was like, absolutely not. I'm going to talk to my lawyer. And instead, I woke up on February 4th with all of Unhinged deleted. It was called Unbothered. There was a new co-host in my chair. There was a big, filthy lie of 9-minute episode talking about me. That was all lies. My email to her was actually cropped. Like, it was like really, really damaging and upsetting.
It's so hurtful. It's like a betrayal.
Yeah. I mean, to your point of, the putting our heart and soul into it, there was actually an episode where I was like, this is like a time capsule for our kids when, in 20 years, they can look back and see it. That was deleted. There was 83 episodes and they were deleted. And I had worked for a year, whatever. It was a 50% podcast. Like, it's
very emotional. I feel like for people who like maybe don't get like
how much goes into this.
Yeah, like, and just like also like when you're like even an influencer, like you care so much about it because it's you, like
right.
It's your self brand.
Yeah.
And then it's gone.
And then for me also, to the point of earlier, like, I was going through all that work on the podcast. Like, it really meant a lot. It meant a lot to me. And, never mind the sweat equity and the actual money we put into it. And like, she was in LA, I was in New York. We were flying back and forth every other month and recording 8 episodes at a time. Like, that is fucking hard.
Yeah.
And we grew to almost 600,000 followers cumulatively. It was like 100. It was like 95K and like 500K when I left.
You were like forced to zero to start over.
No, correct. So in all of this, I was like, once I got locked out, I was like, fuck it. I had already kind of started working on my podcast. I started on January 6th. So between January 6th and January 21st, I got together 2 episodes, all of my branding, everything. Once the lockout happened, I launched that following Tuesday because that was when we were going to run out of episodes on Unhinged. So I was like, I'll just like kind of be there to pick up the lift. Like that was my strategy. Because you know what? Fight or flight, I'm going to fucking fight. Like,
I was going to ask you, like, emotionally, like, were you just like so anxious? Or
no,
were you just like,
I was like,
fuck this,
fuck
I'm going
this.
to do it?
I was like, fuck this. And I was so excited too, because like I was building something that was going to be my own and I loved the branding. And once I came up with the name, I was like, this is going to be sick. Like I was so excited.
Yeah.
Then I got locked out. You know, I still had hope that it was going to be okay, that we were going to like amicably solve it. But then when the lockout happened, I was literally on my way out the door to go see Wicked with my boyfriend it was my Christmas gift. Ugh. And I was just like, I'm just going to like turn off my phone. I was like, we're just going to get drunk and go watch Wicked. And so ironically, it was about a blonde and a brunette, or, you know, the witch. And like the two, like, you know, being friends and then her stabbing her in the back. And I was like, this is ironic.
Oh my God.
But when the actual erasing happened on February 4th, I was like, okay. I sat on the couch. It happened at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like it happened early. And I just got all these texts started flooding in from people being like, did you see? And I just sat there on the couch and I was like, okay, let's check in and be realistic. I'm okay. I'm healthy. My body is not in any physical danger. So is Mr. Wright's. We're good. Our home is okay. We're not being invaded. Like my family is okay. Everything is actually okay. And like, yes, these social media accounts were just stolen from me, but I did it once. I could do it again. I had something great coming. So I was kind of just like, look, this sucks, but like, I'm going to keep going with this and put all of my effort into this. I'm going to get a lawyer. She's going to handle this legally because it's clearly gone too far and this is out of my hands now and like, it's illegal. So I was just like focusing on better things. And I was like, I'm going to make my success my revenge. I won't lie. There were a lot of moments where I almost posted something in retaliation that was like me ranting.
Again, like the self-trust element and like the piece of you being like confident in who the fuck you are and like what you have to offer. Unhinged was not like Emma. And I think
not
that
at
like
all.
I heard I was at a founders retreat in the Hamptons actually recently with like some really fucking cool women, and the founder of Brightland was there, the like olive oil company. And she was talking about how like your business is not you, and like she views it as like almost like if you lost your arm, you're still you. If you lost your leg, you're still you.
Yeah.
And like you can't build a business oppositely of that. Like you need to stand on your own separate from what you're doing so that you're able to like maneuver and shift and change and reinvent if you have to. And it seems like you really like did that, whether it was intentional or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was where my self-awareness kind of came into play, because I was just like, she did not take my voice. She may have taken my platform, but she did not take my voice. And I can still be me and do exactly what I was doing on a different account that I own. And like, it's been 8 months and I've grown 242,000 followers on one platform and 80,000 on another platform. I am almost surpassing.
Hey, you're fine.
Where they're, like, and it's
better.
only been 8 months, whereas that took us a year and a half to get to.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the proof is in the pudding. And sure, it sucks. Like, I think what hurts the most and sucks the most is that they're still using the accounts and people are still following them and people are still liking and, you know, engaging with the page. And it's like, do you know who these people are and like what they've done?
Well, and this is where your healing journey definitely kicked in, because like you've relinquished the control over it.
Right, exactly.
You're just like, whatever. Like, it is what it is. Life is unfair.
And not for nothing, they blocked me from everything, so I can't see it.
You're like, fucking whatever. I guess I
literally
don't have to see it on my algorithm.
Yeah, and they blocked all my friends.
No, but
so.
I think this is really applicable to like everything. Like even like when you've been through shit, like trauma, like sexual trauma, like abuse, relationships, you have to be able to separate it from like who you are and like what you've done. It's like not about you or anything you've done, or it's you're like not like you're deserving of it. Like shit just happens and you have to be able to like pull yourself up and be like, I am me without all that stuff, and this isn't a reflection of who I am. You would never get anywhere if you thought everything was about you.
Yeah. And that's why I mean I didn't talk about the split until episode 14. No, 15. 14.
Yeah,
14.
and I've been following you for a bit now, and I feel like you were almost forced to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it was the end of the settlement. As I said, no deal. Some things just don't deserve privacy. And like this was one of them.
Yeah.
And like, you know, a lot of people say being the bigger person is just like swallowing it and staying quiet and whatever. And like, I got to tell you, that's not always being the bigger person. Yeah. Sometimes being the bigger person is shedding light to some wrong that's been done to you and speaking up so that other people don't feel so alone and other people know that it is okay to stand in their own power and in their own self. And like, I can't tell you how many people reached out to me when I did it and they were like, the same thing happened to me. And I'm like, these creators are not being protected as they should be. And like, even just anyone who's owning a business with someone, my biggest advice, I don't know what camera I'm looking at, but my biggest advice, never be a 50-50 partner. Someone needs to be 51%. Someone needs to be a majority stakeholder. Like, that is my best advice for anyone. Like, because when this shit happens, one person owns it.
Yeah, well, I like part of me wants to be like, well, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but also like it seems like it was for the best.
It was.
And it's a really great lesson for people listening too of like when shit goes wrong, like there's always something better around the corner. And I know it's cliche, but it's true.
It was toxic for like 6 months. Like I should have left earlier. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't make the decision, the universe will do it for you. Yeah. And the universe did. Like it just pushed me. Yeah. Like I had talked to a lawyer 6 months earlier just to be like, hey, what would my options be if I wanted to do this? But her and I kind of like had a win. And I was like, all right, maybe this isn't so bad. I'm gonna stick it out.
Yeah.
So I let it go on for a few more months and then it went to shit again. So I was like, I talk about this on my podcast. I call it the crisis carrot cycle, where it's like, this is typically when you're in a situation with someone with narcissistic tendencies, there's a crisis and you could be absolutely crying one day and then the next day there's a carrot and you stay in it because you forget all about the crisis. Just stay vigilant. You know, that's like all I can say. Like I do still trust people. Will I ever be in a business partnership again? Probably not unless I'm a majority stakeholder. But I'm better on my own. And like, I know that's like sad and that's me.
I don't think it is. I feel like you've maneuvered it in a healthy way. That was actually going to be like my last question for you is like, how have you balanced the like hyper independence? Like how have you channeled it in a healthy way and then caught yourself in other ways where you're like, okay, I don't need to be this way anymore and like balance it? Because hyper independence has gotten me where I am.
Yeah. I mean, same. It also has gotten me here clearly because when this all happened, I was like, okay, duh. Someone else was going to let me down. Like, it's going to happen. It's life. I think when it comes to my relationship, I've definitely found a way to, like, let my partner in. And there's little micro habits. I call it micro receiving. And that is when, you know, I could climb up on this countertop and risk breaking an ankle. But instead, I'm going to ask my 6'3" boyfriend to grab this jar for me.
Yeah.
And there's, like, little things that I'll do where I let him do something for me because he's offered, he's asked. And instead of me being like, no, I've got it, I just started being like, why am I denying myself help? So with the relationship, I've definitely gotten a lot better. As far as the podcast, I'm still a one-man show. Like I don't have any help. I did sign with an agency, so they were doing a lot of like the outreach and like the business development part of it. But I'm still like doing everything on my own on the side, and they're like, oh, how did this just come through? And I'm like, oh, sorry. Like, I'm just doing outreach in my spare time because I'm also like a hyper speed person. Like,
me too.
I'm very impatient about my growth. And I'm like, you know, people are like, wow, 240,000 followers. I'm like, it's not 500,000. Like, it's not like, you know, wow, 80,000. Like, it's not 100. And that's how I function. And I know that's unhealthy, but I don't care. I celebrate my wins in my head like a minute.
Well, I love that you're saying that too, though, because it's like I feel like we preach all the time, like you have to do this better, you have to pursue more and whatever. And I'm all about that. Obviously, the whole podcast is a mental health healing podcast. But like sometimes like you're human. It's okay to have like some unhealthy things about yourself.
And I think in moderation. And it's one of those things where it's like, if it's going to move the needle for me, like I'm going to do it. And it's to each their own, like different strokes for different folks. If you're someone who needs a mental health day, be that person. You might not be working with me, but like, you know, like I'm the kind of person that's like, I don't take days off. And that's why I'm working so hard, is so I can eventually take days off.
Well, yeah. And I think I would like to think that like my hyper independence has like made me successful. Like that's, I would argue most women who are entrepreneurs are hyper independent. Right. But to your point, like when it comes to romantic relationships, I've purposefully had to be like, okay, if you want a successful relationship, if you want to like have someone you trust, like you got to be able to drop this. And I think that to your point comes with time and micro things, like very low stakes things.
Right. And that, you know, that's how you kind of like build up like on the vulnerability ladder type of a thing.
Yeah.
And it also takes someone proving you wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's really hard to just like give everyone the benefit of the doubt in that type of a situation.
Well, I always say like trust is earned. It isn't given out for free.
Totally.
So like give people chances to like see if you can trust them, but like doesn't mean you have to trust people right away. You shouldn't.
No, I said this literally yesterday on TikTok. What is it? Love needs action, trust needs proof, and sorry needs change.
I love that.
Those are the 3 things that you need to live your life by, and it really applies to everything. And a lot of people in the comment section were like, trust shouldn't be earned. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yes, it is.
Yes, it
like,
is.
you are not trustworthy until you prove that you can be trustworthy.
Yeah, no, we trust people way too easily.
Yeah.
And like maybe that, I mean, I'm coming in from a jaded spot, but I don't think there's like any trauma showing there. Like you have to let people show you. And this goes back to love bombing. This goes back to everything. Like we're human. Like people need to earn your trust.
I think it's also just like a balance. Yeah. Like I'm not standoffish. Like people meet me and they feel like they've known me for years. And that's because like I love people. Yeah. I love making connections. And I think to your point of like, how did I, you know, trust people again? It's like, I just, it is that benefit of the doubt. But I know in the back of my mind that I don't know these people well enough yet to fully rely on them for anything.
Yeah, keep it low stakes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, if they do disappoint me, it's kind of like, all right, well, serves me right. I didn't really know them that well.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for being here and just like sharing on everything and kind of getting into your stuff too. I really appreciate it. I ask everybody who comes on, looking back at the journey, the ups and downs, the trauma, the hardships, the relationships, the podcast, and now where you are now. How do you see it? How do you see it all?
I mean, it's crazy, but I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
Like literally, this is the toe in the water. To your point earlier of the Brightland founders saying like your business should be like your arm or your leg, you know, something that's not you. Like this is not the only thing I want to do. I'm not just going to be a podcaster. Like I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write many books. I want to start a clothing line. I want to start a nonprofit. I want to have an empire, and this is going to be a part of it. Yeah. So like, yes, I'm putting my heart and soul into this, and I always will, but it's just the beginning, and I know that it's just like a stepping stone. It's a part of the ecosystem that I'm building. So
I love that. I wish I lived in New York so we could hang out more often, because I'm the same way. It's like, you know, I love it. It's my whole heart. Yeah. But yeah, like there's so much more.
Just getting started.
But I think when you've been through shit, you can like look at stuff that's so important to you and be like, to your point, like things evolve, they change, it can be taken away from you. Like you have to be able to roll with the punches.
Yeah. And I just, the biggest thing in my life is making lemonade out of my lemons. And I genuinely believe in that, whether it's like something small, like, you know, I don't know, something getting canceled and you going off to do something more fun or just something different, or it's like your business getting stolen. There's always a silver lining to literally everything, and being able to see that and just like having your eyes open and not being narrow-minded and not closing yourself off, like you're going to be limitless. Yeah. You're going to be, you know, sky is the limit.
I love that. Well, thank you, Emma. Please share where people can follow you and listen to the pod.
You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. It's Emma's Too Much. And then podcast is on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And that's, I think, Too Much podcast or Emma's Too Much.
It's too much.
I don't know. You see me with my leg in my hair. You can't miss it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This is so great.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you leave here feeling motivated and inspired. Do not forget to rate and review the pod on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And don't forget to follow How I See It Pod so you can keep up with podcast updates and see who's coming on next. And if you're not already, come join the fam and follow at How Han Sees It. Thank you guys.